see it.
What's up, family? Welcome to Church Mind and Matter. I'm Tay. I bring the church.
I'm Aaron. I bring the mind.
We are here with Mr. Ray Jackson. He sometimes matters, but you, of course, always matters. Welcome to Church Mind and Matter. I am your host, co-host, special co-host guest / brother from another mother, same father. All that in a bag of chips. Before we even go anywhere, before we go forward, before we even say one more word, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to like, share, and subscribe. If you are on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. If you are on Facebook, like, share, follow the page. If you are on Instagram, hey family, follow, like, share. What is it, Mr. Ray Jackson?
I am Ray Jackson.
I am Ray Jackson on Instagram.
Ramon Jackson on Facebook.
Ramon Jackson on Facebook. What's you?
Don't worry.
We working on it. Pastor Tay 87 on Instagram, Tayron Fleming Moore on Facebook. We did all that jazz. We are ready. Guess what the topic is today, Mr. West. You heard the background music. You can see what it's about. It is about Kanye West. You want to give us a little insight? What's going on?
So recently Kanye West has been under a little bit of criticism because he had decided to go ahead and do a church service over at the New Birth Church in Atlanta, Georgia. There was, people who were saying, this is a great idea, uplifting, preach your message, shoot your shot. Other people were like, nah, man, after Jesus and I am a God and all this other stuff that he's done in the past, we think it's a terrible idea, it's bringing secularism into the church platform. So we're going to discuss on the merits of whether or not what allows a person to come forward and be, to preach the word of the gospel, or what doesn't allow them, or how do we even feel about Mr. West coming out and saying, or doing what he did out in New Birth. So that's a little bit of synopsis of how we're looking at it. So
awesome. So we're going to get in that and more, but before we do, there is a video that we want to show of our brother
LeVar Jones.
Minister LeVar Jones. What's up? Supporter of the network, supporter of the show. What's up, family? So he has something to say that I thought was very insightful and very impactful. Take a second, listen to it, get fed by it. We're going to come back and discuss it. All right, family.
Since I had the good people, and I have never had the good people from my car. My son Valley calls it the Holy Mobile. Anyway, was having lunch and in some conversation, I heard some conversation, and wasn't really going to dive into the whole Kanye thing, but it has me thinking this. Folks are in an uproar about Kanye being in New Birth, about the Sunday services, about the new album, all these questions around Kanye and his connection to the church and to Christ, and how it is viewed that he's bringing people church and bringing people Christ into the mainstream, into spaces where traditionally we are not. Here's my question. Specifically for other believers, specifically other leaders, why y'all mad? Why y'all mad that he bringing Christ to the culture? The better question is, how are you bringing Christ to the culture? And why is it that it's such a phenomenon that he's bringing Christ to the culture? Why have they not seen him in us? Why have they not heard him from us? Etc., etc. And I know there are amazing ministries and churches and pastors and leaders and believers doing great things for the kingdom. I get that. But I think this is a moment where we can pause and say, we need to do better. We need to do more. Don't get caught up in this hype and allow this to be a distracting moment. Pastor Jamal Bryant is going to do what Pastor Bryant's going to do. Kanye going to do what he going to do. The better question is for you right now, what are you going to do? With your personal faith, with your corporate faith at your church, your ministry, what are you going to do to advance the kingdom of God? Think on it, folks. Make it a great day on purpose.
A real deal. What's up, family? We are back. I hope you were blessed by that video. Hope you were touched by that video. Hope you got something from that video. So we're going to discuss kind of what Brother LeVar was saying. Do we agree? Do we disagree? Is it something that he's going a little too far left, too far right, or is he right in the middle? That's what we're discussing. Also, shout out to Instagram, to the people who did not see that video. You are getting like the backstage special edition pass because you seeing it raw. You ain't seeing no ticket going down. You ain't seeing no names. You just seeing us us. So we
Yes.
appreciate everybody who's on the Amplify Network page, on the Ray Jackson page, on the Pastor Tay page.
Yes.
So all Instagram fan, what's up? Shout outs. Peace and blessings. Again, welcome to Church Mind and Matter. And before I go any further, one more time, remember this is open forum. So if you have anything to say, you got some comments you want to say, you got questions you want to ask, you think I'm right and they wrong, please say it. We will shout you out. We will give you all the praise you deserve and some. Cool?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So we're going to start with the mine. I'm just going to go on around. When you hear Kanye in church, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I want to know what he's preaching. That's simply put. It sounds like it would be a great message. It sounds like it would be a great time. But honestly, let's keep it real. What is he coming out and saying? You know, Kanye West has been on a bit of a roller coaster this year and previous years. You know, he's been saying a lot of things. You know, he's talking about time travel, space camp, all this other stuff. So, no, let's keep it real though. Let's keep it real.
It's true.
Yeah. So I want to know what he's about to say. But
Right.
we have a little bit of foreknowledge because we already know what exactly went down over at New Birth.
Right.
You know, it was a very holistic experience. He went out there, he did, praise and worship. He talked about his testimony, and he was decrying materialism over God. You know, he was saying basically focus on God, right? So it was a good experience. It really is. But I can understand why people would be nervous, why people would be scared of having them out there, because you don't really know what Kanye you're gonna get.
Right.
You know, you might get the cool Mr. West, like, yeah, you know, Jesus walks, you know, like the song we were playing in our intro, or you might get like, I am a God. You know, what Kanye are you gonna get? You know,
Yeah.
I love the man. You know, I grew up
I
listening
got
to
it.
his
I like
music,
it. I like
but
it.
certainly, it's just a question of what was the message. But from what I've seen, I have no problem with it. Bring people to Christ. That's the main mission.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, he's human. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's human. I think we, for some reason, have taken the whole human interaction, human perspective, being human out of church. And I'm like, Kanye's human. But I'm always aware that Jesus will use who Jesus wants to use.
Yes.
I hear.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess I come at a couple of different angles. Like, I'm all for letting people be people and letting people lead the church. He didn't, I mean, he's not proclaiming to be some pastor or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not his goal. He's just saying, listen, this is the message that I got. This is the message I want to share. You know what I'm saying? It's a message that relates in the story about Jesus. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not trying to be a pastor. However, I do think that we have to be careful in a society that is oftentimes leaned on bad theology, and oftentimes won't go to, folks who won't necessarily look up on their own, even though we got Google, who won't look up on their own the whole, Jesus story. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that we're mindful of what he does, and wherever he goes, if there's a pastor who is theologically sound, making sure they go behind that person and say, you know what, or even during that moment and say, hey, like, this is right, this is not necessarily right, but we thank God for a person willing, and the willingness of Kanye to do what Kanye is doing.
Got you. I would say cautious. The reason I say that is because, again, you have the situation where I am a God. You have those blurts where George Bush doesn't like black people. Like, you have is this just another thing? Is this just something for you to do? Like, and I don't know if it's my place to question that. Yeah. But I can't say that the question isn't there because we've seen, you know what I mean? And again, and we'll see it in another clip we also have. But the person said, God is quick to save, and if God is working in Kanye's West life, all praises, right? You couldn't find a better advocate for the faith than a headliner of secular music than Kanye. My question is, right? Is it a thing where last year he thought he was the best fashion designer in the world? He's saying he has the best clothes in the world. Cass was walking around with sponges on for hats. You know what I mean? But, like, you know what I mean? He's selling like thrift store shoes for like $300. I'm just curious. Is this just
to his style?
No, it's disrespect. It's ugly. I'm just curious to know: is this Kanye a fad, or has he really given himself to Christ? And if so, like, shouldn't there be like a time of discernment to say, okay, we welcome you with full arms, right? We welcome you, our brother of Christ. You gave your life to Christ. That's awesome. Like, let this seed plant harvest fruit first before I'm willing to just go all in on Kanye.
I disagree.
But hold on, let me give you an example. Let's say you just come to the church and you walk up and you say, I want to give my life to God. Great, awesome, come on, brother, give your life to God. You know what I mean? You get a spiritual mentor or whatever. We talk to you. You start coming, and on the second week you came, you say, I can play drums. I want to play drums. I want to be an usher. I want to sing in the choir. Do you just do that? Like after 2 weeks, do you just do that? Do you just let you go?
Depending on what church you're at.
Sure. Can I say it's a cultural thing too? Because when Saul was Paul and he had his contact with Jesus, he did not wait like 3-4 months before he went out and did his ministry.
But he still had foundation of the word. I mean, he still knew Jewish law. It was the Jesus bit that he was missing.
But that's what I'm careful about, though. Who are we sure that Kanye didn't have that history? Because he does have a history of being in church, and he does have a history of growing up in church.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, well, so where are you sure that Kanye was not churched in some way?
I'm sure that he acts sporadically from time to time. I'm not saying he wasn't church.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah, true.
But I'm still cautious. Somebody might have been cautious. I didn't just... I said I got the call to ministry, I didn't step in the pulpit the next day neither.
No, but I guess my challenge is, it's just me. For me, it's your wording. You're saying he accepted. But if I'm correct, Kanye had already accepted Christ. He already had a past.
So that's an example.
Right. So I'm saying I get what you're saying about, yes. I like in terms of leading the church.
Right.
I'm just saying, but I don't know if we can neglect that Kanye did have a history with the church, and so we're also not sure what that prior history and knowledge. Okay, so
let me reword. Maybe not his history, but we can say that he has acted sporadically, right? We can say that he's done things that will say he's jumped from one thing to the next, right? It was all about the music, then it was all about the fashion. It was, so I'm just saying, for me, my question is the intent behind it. Is it more than just a fad for him? My question is, if 2 months, 3 months down the line, will this still be a thing or will it not? And I'm not downgrading him. I'll let you get to it. Let me just finish this one statement. Okay. I'm not downgrading him for doing it. I applaud him for going out there. I applaud Jamal Bryant for accepting him there. I'm just saying, me personally, right? Me, just Tehran. If you're saying someone like Kanye West is leading a service of worship, I'm cool with it, but then I'm not. I'm still uneasy about it because I just hope and I pray that it is genuine. And if it is, that he sticks with it. I just don't want it to be something that was a fad for a time and then he goes to something else. That's why I say I'm cautious. Mm-hmm. Because his impact can be so grand, either positive or negative. You know what I mean? When he went there, how many people gave their life to Christ? 100?
Yeah.
So what would happen if he decided after this, I did the church thing and it ain't for me and blah 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 blah. I mean, you could cause so much damage. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm cautious.
I'm with you. I know you're about to read the comments.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and then I'll go back to it.
So we have 3 comments. One is from the network. The difference is that he's putting out music that glorifies God. He's not trying to be a preacher. Mike Jackson Sr. Long time no see.
Bring
up the scripture of being double-minded. So does anyone have that on there or know it from heart?
Well,
yeah. So all of our we should have that.
My iPad is.
It's a shame that nobody thought to bring a Bible with us.
Well, I guess.
Well, use this on our phones, but we simultaneously
right up there.
Thank you.
But you know what? Maybe if Terrence is watching, maybe he can bring it up.
Okay.
All right, Terrence, if you're out there,
amplify person.
Yes, please. Anyway, and Margie Wise Matthews. Hey, first time no here.
I
have no idea what I'm trying to say.
He's the mind.
Yeah, mind scramble. I want to hear what anyone has to testify about their experience with God. We sometimes need to focus on the message and not the messenger. I am not the most proper minister, but if you are speaking the truth, it's all good. Snoop Dogg did gospel. Whisperers did gospel. Aretha did gospel, but they didn't try to speak like that. His fruits will show up if he's sincere.
No, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Very true.
I got it lends itself to and again to the title of the show. Like, what qualified you to have certain positions in the church, or should there be even certain positions in the church? You know what I mean? What qualifies you to be a pastor, to a lay servant, or some would say deacon, to a assistant of the pastor, to whatever, worship, a usher? You know what I mean? I think some of that goes with our cultural upbringings a lot of times, and then some of it just goes with our I don't want to say lack of faith, but our questioning of man, I guess, our untrusting of man per se. Because again, like I applaud anybody who decides to change their life for the better by giving themselves to Christ and decided to hit the ground running. That's great, right? My only thing is when you see a person who has that kind of can flip the switch mentality of what he wants to do, and he's kind of like Kanye is kind of like a aunt to me. I don't know the man personally. It's kind of like an all in kind of guy. He sees something, he's all in. Then he sees something else, he's all in on that. He sees something, he's all. So I'm like, I hope and pray that he's all in on Christ and he stays all in on Christ, and that's where my question is.
So I go back to LeVar's video though, right? Mm-hmm. I think his question was, we see what they're doing, so what are you doing for the culture? Right. So for me, those folks are not in Kanye's hands. Mm-hmm. Those folks might have been, may not have been, but we're assuming that they were led to Christ because of Kanye. Mm. Well, then good, right? Like there's nothing negative about being led to Christ because of someone. Now the question is, what is the church, the folks who are there at that church, the folks who might know these folks, what are they going to do to follow up? Because let's say you're right. Let's say Kanye's in for this moment, but then he's out. Well, it's not on his hands to be responsible for those 100 people, right? It's on the people who are in relationship with those folks to be responsible. And I think that's sometimes where we get caught up, right? Like I think we let people come in and out and in and out. Well, maybe we shouldn't always let them come in. But when we do, the question is, are we prepared to travel with the folks that are committing themselves? When the disciples went to each place, they led people to Christ. But then they let those people, that was where church planting originally started, right? The disciples started churches, and then they moved forward. And they left people in charge of those places. And I'm sure there were rumors. I mean, Peter was getting locked up, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the other disciples were getting locked up. They were getting caught up. They weren't all perfect themselves, but the question was, where's your relationship? And where's the people who are in charge, who are left there? Even even Wesley, right? Wesley was big on that. He started churches, but he let the lay. At that point, when Wesley started the whole church movement, or the whole Methodist movement,
there's a whole bunch of laymen.
It was a lot of lay people leading the church. The pastors didn't even, they weren't in charge. They came once a month. So the question is, what are we, the church, doing to be responsible over the lives that we've been, that we have the pleasure of walking into because Kanye did something, because God used Kanye in such a mighty way.
Well, you have to be careful too. Are people being led to Christ or being led to Kanye? But time will tell.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway, on the recommendations of Mike Jackson Sr., So verse on, I don't know if it's double-mindedness, but he said Jamal Bryant was basically reading from this. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1 through 18. I hope you will put up with me in a little foolishness. Yes, please put up with me. I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promise you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a pure virgin to him. But I am afraid that just as Eve was deceived by the serpent's cunning, your minds may somehow be led astray from your sincere and pure devotion to Christ. For if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you put up with it easily enough. I do not think I am in the least inferior to those super apostles. I'm sorry, this is NIV, but it's coming out weird. I may indeed be untrained as a speaker, but I do have knowledge. We have made this perfectly clear to you in every way. Was it a sin for me to lower myself in order to elevate you by preaching the gospel of God to you free of charge? I robbed other churches by receiving support from them so as to serve you. And when I was with you and needed something, I was not a burden to anyone, for the brothers who came from Macedonia supplied what I needed. I kept myself from being a burden to you in any way, and I will continue to do so. As surely as the truth of Christ is in me, nobody in the regions of Achaia will stop this boasting of mine. Why? Because I do not love you? God knows I do. And I will keep on doing what I am doing in order to cut the ground from under those who want an opportunity to be considered equal with us in the things they boast about. For such people are false apostles, deceitful workers, masquerading as apostles of Christ. And no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. It is not surprising then if his servants also masquerade as servants of righteousness. Their end will be what their actions deserve. So,
wow.
In a nutshell. Yes.
So, I guess the question is though, how can I put this? What is Kanye West? Is he, you know what I mean? Is he that good person who decided to change his life? That God changed his life and now he's spreading the word? Or is it again?
Well, I think
is it a masquerade?
I think it's something we can't even tell at this
exactly.
point.
Yeah. So
I mean, for now, for what has happened, 100 to 200 people gave their lives over to Christ.
Right.
A whole bunch of people came out to the Sunday service regardless
right.
of why. They came, they received God. There was the opportunity for them to commune with Christ.
Right.
There was an opportunity to commune with other people who may be influenced in their lives. They may go to church, meet somebody that they'll stay with for the rest of their days, and be led down a godly path. For now, we can't say. We can only see, we can only hope, we can only pray. But for the time period, for a man to come forward and testify about the work of God in his life, I mean, I can't take that from anybody. I would hope more people would do that, qualified and unqualified. What's the difference between Kanye West coming out and saying, well, this is what God has done in my life, and somebody who used to walk the streets, somebody who was addicted to drugs, somebody who sold their own children to come forward and say, well, but that was me then, but then God.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what I'm resting everything.
Yeah.
We have a few other comments from Terrence as well. We are to plant the seed, but only God is responsible for the growth. This is actually an opportunity for the church to connect with the unchurched community. Very good point.
Yeah.
And mega churches should bring him in and use that opportunity to connect with those who will never go inside a church building. Oh, wait, yeah, and that's it. All right, we're good.
Well, let me just say this, and if you got something else to say, cool. We're going to get that the other video queued up. But I mean, I would say I agree with everything you said. And the initial fruit that the seed he planted that's bearing, you can't argue with that. You right? My question is, as you said before, did they come because of Kanye? Right? Mm-hmm. Now, if they stay because of God, that's great. But if they're only going because it's Kanye, and Kanye does something or denounces God or something happens, and you can make that, you can make that argument with anybody in ministry. I'm just saying, just because he lives his life, I guess, in the public eye, or the public just tries to get in his life, and all we see is the bad. From a spectator, I say, oh, I know he does this. I know he can be sporadic at times. It worries me because. But at the same time, what else do you want? So I'm kind of arguing against myself. It's a rough topic, but on one end, it's like, what else do you want him to do? Like this, who else would you want to how else would you want to example a person who was dealing with something? God saved him, bring him out that situation. Now he's talking about it, but at the same time, you're scared that he might go back to his old ways. You can say that about everybody.
Let me ask this question. I want to make sure I understand. What are his old ways that you're referring to?
As far as like, help me. So, not sinful way. Well, I guess sinful way. We all sin devil for sure. Anyway, as far as like it being just a fad, I'm hoping it's not just a fad. Like how he was just all in on the clothes thing. How if you look on TMZ, he kind of acted a little sporadic at times. The Kardashian kind of connection and the stigma that comes with that. My question is, my hesitation is it just a ploy to be in the headlines? Is it just something that he's just all in on this thing for 1 second and it doesn't stick? Or will he say something or blurt out something that doesn't sound right? Will he say, I am a god or something? Will that, what I mean? Will that happen?
I'm careful about this though, right? I hear you, and I do think that there's. So let me say this, because I'm gonna say this, and I've kind of released myself from caring too much about what people say and think about what I say.
All right.
But I do believe in being cautious, right? Like I don't want to. So let me say that to everybody. I believe in being cautious and being thoughtful towards whatever approach that people take. Mm-hmm. I do believe that. But with that said, I want to reiterate, right? Like I want to go back a little bit. Kanye West has a Christian past, so when he made Jesus walk, right? Like he was to some churches the best thing walking. I don't know that his, because when I hear you, I think about my own life, right? I mean, we all have dabbed into things and not necessarily stuck with those things,
right?
So because he went to fashion, that doesn't really make him a bad person. Because he got married to a Kardashian doesn't make him a bad person. I mean, especially on the mere fact that I think his wife is doing a hell of a job.
Oh yeah,
in terms of
prison reform.
Prison reform, right? So I think there are some great things that come out of that family and that household. I think Kanye, somebody said because Kanye supports Trump or did support Trump or whatever, that doesn't necessarily make him a bad person. It just means he has an opinion that isn't the same as everybody else's.
Right.
So I'm not sure that I get, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure I can go down the road of like, Kanye's just this bad person who has done a lot of things. Now, has he been, has he appeared to be, right, untamed, or has he appeared to be sporadic at times? Yes, he has. But heck, Peter was very sporadic. And he was one of Jesus' main disciples. I mean, Peter was known to be the wild disciple. So I'm not sure that, I guess I'm just kind of pushing back a little bit because to me, Kanye is exactly the kind of person that I think God can use. I
agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think, and so let's say, I don't know that I can say it's Christianity, or I'm not at will to say anything because I don't really have the final judgment on anybody. But in my own biased opinion, I don't think that I can say this possibly could be a fad for him because Kanye West has been a Christian for a long time. Maybe he spread out and did some things, went a couple places, but he has been rooted in Christianity for a long time. So perhaps he is just coming back to his faith a little stronger, and now he is stepping further into his roots because we all go astray a little bit. Yeah. But I think we have to be careful in this narrative. Kanye West is not a stranger to Christianity. So this is not just a quick trend. This is something that Kanye has had rooted in for a good bit of his life. Maybe he's stepping into this and he's maybe the pronouncing of it, or maybe the big time of it, or the glorification of it can be somewhat of a trend. But him being into Christianity can't necessarily be called a trend because he's been in it for years. So I just want to be careful about how we approach that.
All right, we have a lot of comments coming in too. Anyway, Terrence says, Paul said that he hath become all things to all people so that he might save some. 1 Corinthians 9:19 through 23. Alfreda Luis Ritas.
Who?
Alfreda? Do you know?
Better than me.
What's her name?
Alfreda Luis Rita? Either way,
Alfreda,
welcome. Alfreda. Welcome, Alfreda.
Hey, Alfreda.
She mentions 1 Corinthians 1 through 27. I'll check that verse as soon as I get a chance. Then Mike Jackson Sr. said, I guess in response to Terrence, that can be very dangerous. Terrence, remember what Lucifer did while he was in heaven. Discernment must be front and center, which Terrence replied, we are responsible for planting the seed, my brother. We are not God. Discernment is always critical. I'm not saying, though, throw discernment out the window. I'm saying that some people get saved at this event. And Alfreda responded, amen. God will use who he choose regardless of their past. Apologies, everybody. And Alfreda said 1 Corinthians 1 through 27. Give me a quick second here. Okay. And it says, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong.
That's good. Yeah.
Amen. So I was actually at a, what would I call it? A press event with Bizzle, Jared Sanders, Dayton, the whole God Over Money crew. And for those who you don't know, if you remember, there was a gospel artist who did a diss record on Kanye and Jay-Z about the kiss the ring thing when they made the song Monster. Certain Christian hip hop rappers took offense, and he actually made a diss record about that. And neither here or there. When I got to meet him, I asked him what he thought about Kanye West, and here's what he and the God Over Money crew had to say.
I heard him talk, right? I don't know the heart of the man. What I heard him talk, it seemed legit. For all we know, it could be like two different extremes. It could be a marketing scheme, or it could be real. I don't think it's for me to say exactly what it is. I feel like time will tell and it's through the show. So I'm watching, and I really pray to God that He is really working in that man's life.
I think I would say God is mighty to save, and Kanye is not unreachable. God doesn't have a short arm. Right. So I would say instead of having all these opinions and all the stupidity I see on Facebook from believers, I think we should just wait this thing out and see if it bears fruit. And you know, if it doesn't, we already know what it is. And I know it's easier to not believe because we've seen so many other people go this route, and we're hoping like, oh, I hope, and then the next joint they cussing and wilding out. So all we can do is wait and give God the benefit of the doubt. Amen.
Yeah, I would say to keep it simple. My fault. Yeah, to keep it simple, we gotta ask ourselves the question: is God sovereign or not? God is in control, and God understands what's going on. You know, all of the flaws, all of the inaccuracies, all of the things that may be counterfeit, they're going to be shown at some point. So you want to give it an opportunity to show itself. So keep him prayed up, keep him and everything that he's associated with prayed up. And also pay attention to the newcomers that are coming to the faith, probably as a result of seeing him. Make sure that they are not in the place that he becomes the center and the object of their opinion, right? Because ultimately at that point, if you take your eyes off of Christ, you know, and look at Ye, you might find yourself in a compromising position if you stumble. So keep him prayed up, but always ask the question, is God sovereign or not? Because if he is, that makes sense.
Bang. We are back. What's up, family? Before we get started, one more time, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe in that order, or however you want to mix it up. Everybody on Instagram, don't forget. We got about 3 different Instagram accounts going live right now. So if you're on Amplified Network, Pastor Tay 87, The Real.
I am Ray Jackson and Encounter the Well.
There you go.
There you go. Y'all heard that. Okay. Don't forget to like on Instagram as well as YouTube and Facebook. We are live. If you have any comments, feel free to give them, as long as they're in a respectful manner. We will shout you out, give you all the praise you deserve for the courage you are submitting. And we just love you and praise you. And if you like that video, let me know. So, in the press conference, Bizzle, who was earlier in Kanye's career, was very strict on him, real rude. Did the whole diss record, and even Bizzle was saying, he was like, I don't know enough about him to judge. You know what I mean? He was just like, hey, if he's doing it right, only time will tell. Dayton kind of said the same thing. Dayton said, you know, God is quick to save. You know, if he did save Kanye, it's great for the culture. I'm all for it. And Jared Sanders kind of said the same thing. And they all pretty much said the same kind of sentiment. And then Jared said something that was really poignant. He was just like, yeah, he got saved. Now, what are we going to... All these people got saved because of Kanye, but what are we going to do with these people? Because he's gone. Yeah. So now, what are we going to do? So I really love that. I really thought that was very poignant and
thought-provoking too.
Yeah, it was a good point. And you got to understand, these are people who, you know what I mean. These were Christian rappers who like diss Kanye, diss Jay-Z, and now you know, they were coming to his defense a little bit. But even more so, if you take that out of the equation. You know, and again, I'll publicly say, like, I wrestle with it. And the only reason I'm cautious because he holds so much clout as an individual. What he's doing right now, I will say it is amazing. If you watch some of what he's doing online, if you see the services, what was it, the live service in Chicago? I mean, it's dope, and it's not like he's preaching the gospel necessarily. I mean, it's all praise and worship, right? It all comes from a great place. Like, me personally, I'm like, if God gave you a gift and you're using that gift to worship God, what more can you ask for?
Yeah,
but to my detriment or to whatever have you, in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I hope he's serious. I hope this is real, right? And that's where I'm at. That's what I wrestle with. Whether it's good or bad, you know, I can stand and be a man about it and say that's how I feel. If you don't feel the same way, that's fine. But that's, you know what I mean, that's where I'm coming with it. But I read a couple posts where it's just like he's just not qualified to be in ministry, and I guess which leads to the other part, and I'm sure you got something to say, so I'll let you say it. But which will start leading to the other part is what qualifies somebody for ministry, right? And that's something like, again, I would have to wrestle with what qualifies you for ministry, because and after this I'll open it up for you guys and whoever else out in social media land. You know, I'm a pastor, so you know, you think of, especially, you know, I'm coming from the Methodist context. You think of order and things go this way and everything else. You take this class to make you qualified for this, and you know, everything fits in this little perfect puzzle. And sometimes you have the question: did God make everything to fit in this puzzle, or was it supposed to be this organic thing that grows to worship God? And if that's the case, is Kanye the wrong one, or are we the wrong one? So I'll open that up.
I want to read a comment. I know my oldest son was saying, let Yeezy do his thing. Who are we to say he can't? So that's coming off of the Instagram post.
Dope.
I kind of wrestle with this because it's funny, right? This is a deep conversation with me, because so I love what you're asking, because I feel like that's what normal people ask of the church every day.
Very true.
And so
we actually agree on something.
Yeah, so I find it interesting that we, who are people that are leading to some degree, right, in the actual institutional church, people question every day what we're doing, and then we're turning around and questioning, right? Like but in all honesty, I actually don't question so much of Kanye. I mean, I'm part of that whole camp that's like, let God be God. I just don't have time to question so much, because, and not that I'm not cautious. I think brother, was it Michael said that earlier? Like we need to discern. I do believe you. I agree with you, Michael, that we do need to discern who we allow in certain places, because we are in a spiritual warfare at all times. So let me just acknowledge that we're in spiritual warfare. We are fighting not against flesh and blood. We're fighting against powers and principalities and rulers of darkness. And I do understand that. And so we do have to be discerning of the spirits and the energy that we allow into those places that we do have some sort of control over.
Right.
However, we also have to be open to receiving God's spirit through many different ways and vessels and different movements. I think one of the questions that again was raised in the beginning, my brother LeVar, Pastor LeVar, is what are we doing? So somebody said, right, like now they've been called. I push so hard because not that there aren't other big churches that are doing certain things, but we as a people, we can't get our own stuff together sometimes. We don't want to team up with the church down the street because we want to lead.
Right.
We can't even get our trustees to act right. We can't get our ushers to act right. We don't even want to give keys to the building. We don't want to show trust to folks. So I hear what we're questioning about Kanye, but we can't even, in our own institutional building, we don't even do outreach. We can't even get home right, so we can do outreach. And I'm not saying that all churches are like this, but we have too many of them that are fighting with this. Why are we not the ones who are leading? There was a time when the church was leading the culture, not following the culture, right? Why is it that we can't grab a hold of that, right? Like, why is it that we don't have prominent figures who are just like Kanye's, who are taking the message, right? And we don't recognize them, or we don't want to work with them because we're critical of those folks too. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Okay, I hear you, but like, I feel like churches are doing those things, but like, I can name you 10 Christian hip hop artists who can rap circles. I don't care what nobody say. Test my words. Who can rap circles over Jay-Z, Kanye, any secular rapper you want, but they don't get the attention because they're talking about God. Right? So if they do that, then they're being too secular. If they don't do that, then secular don't want to hear it. So then you have Kanye who comes in. I keep getting on Kanye. Hold on. It's crazy how it works, because I feel like, just coming from a church context, churches do all these things, and like church does outreach. At some point, the people have to help the have to be receptive to the church. It takes this a secular idol to get people into the church, and then it's like what happens when he leaves? You know what I mean? What happens after that? So I mean, my question is, I guess I don't know what my question is. I'm rambling at this point. It's just it's crazy. No, really, because it's like it makes your mind just think of all these different scenarios in which. We keep talking about the church doesn't even do this. So why listen, the church is doing a lot. I just feel like the church doesn't get the wonder or the praise that a secular artist does. I don't understand why. And that might be a whole nother topic within itself. But I know people who rap better, who can produce better, who sing better than any secular artist and out here and doing this for free. Mega churches, small churches, the parking lot, and don't get any other credit. But you got a Kanye, whoever else who wants to pick God in a song, and they get recognition, right? And then when people are cautious of Kanye or of any person who comes from the outside, then the church gets the backlash. If you go to a job and you're there, isn't there a probational period? Isn't there like 3 months? You know what I'm saying? Like it's okay to be cautious to say, oh, I don't know because I you know what I'm saying? Yes, we accept everybody for who they are. We accept everybody in.
Do we?
We should.
Before you jump in,
I'm sorry.
we should get to the comments at this point. All right, so where we left off was Terrence Sam says, Kirk Franklin mentioned that he and Kanye have been friends for a long time, and Kanye wanted to do gospel for a long time as well. However, Kirk told him that the church probably wasn't ready for him. But now, the church is ready. So there's that. Mike Jackson, thank you for shouting out. He says this is a good topic and this is a good one. Thank you.
Hey.
Alfreda was saying amen to your piece. I was keeping an eye out for that. And then Terrence said we are all created to worship God. To worship. God qualifies us, not man. Well, it's both true.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not easy to do these comments. It depends on the institution, meaning he may not be the right person for a strict holiness church, but obviously, he's the right one for Pastor Jamal Bryant's church.
That's a good point. Because, I mean, it's not like he just...
He was in New York last week as well. Is it last week or this week? He was in New York.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple live... Because he was in
Travis
Detroit.
said maybe he can reach a different crowd.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's
and that
very
was the
true.
point I was trying to make, too, is... I didn't even get a chance to make my point. But, when you're in the secular scene, the focus is trying to get name recognition. It's to go out and to not just be known in, like, Laurel or Maryland or Pittsburgh or wherever. It's to be known. Well, why not? It's trying to get recognition from all over. To be known in Germany, Switzerland, wherever. So you got to say whatever you got to do in order to make that possible. But when you're doing it for the Lord, it's not for self-glorification. So you're not going to get that same recognition. You're doing it for the Lord. You're doing it for the church. You're doing it to up people up, to lift people up. You're not doing it so you can become famous.
Right.
And so that's why there's that level of disconnect. And that's also, quite frankly, why I feel like there's that level of distrust. Are you doing it for fame? Are you doing it for more glory? Are you doing it because it's so outside of the box of what you've been doing lately that it just gathers everybody's attention?
Yeah.
But if he's honestly doing it for the Lord, coming from a place of fame, it's nothing but God's plan. It allows
either way, it's God's plan.
Exactly. Like dude said, well, he can reach a group of people who probably wouldn't have listened to the church, who wouldn't have gone to church in the first place. I know for a fact, growing up the way I grew up, I know about Kanye West. I did not know who Kirk Franklin was. So, it kind of works.
That's awesome.
Hey,
give me that. Wait, what?
The way I grew up. What? All right. But still, the point
Stomp. What?
Yeah. I'm serious, though. I'm not telling no lies about that.
Like that.
Exactly. So, in a way, I get, the distrust. But like Raymond was saying, you got to trust people at some point. Because we don't grow if we don't trust nobody.
I'm also like, I just don't know, man. Like I guess this whole little piece sometimes does frustrate me. I mean, you my brother, and I love the fact that we had this conflict a little bit because it's good. I mean, I try my best not to judge too much of anybody because I just don't. I'm not the person to do it, and I got too much stuff to be judged on myself. even where you are with this music piece, right? So we got the people like Lecrae who are now rappers who are Christians. They're not necessarily Christian rappers, but they're rappers
they
who
believe,
who have faith, right? I look at Molly Music, right? I look at D1,
116,
and I think maybe, and I'm gonna push even with what you said, Aaron. I don't, and not necessarily to disagree, but more so to expand our
expand the world. Expand the world. Go ahead, man.
But maybe we as Christians have done a bad job of boxing ourselves in so that we don't reach the rest of the world. I mean, Fred Hammond said at one point, he said, I would love to do a love album, but he can't because, and he's married, but he doesn't feel like he can because we have boxed, society has boxed what to be a Christian is in. And so, I wrestle with that thing because a musician is declared secular, are they all of a sudden not Christian or not able to be a preacher or not able to? They're like, well, what's the criteria there? Because that's my issue. Maybe, right? So often we think if a Christian rapper needs to have God in every song and to speak on Christ in every song, but real life, we're real people. So why can't we talk about making love, especially if we're married? Why can't we talk about politics? Why can't we talk about?
I mean, you making my point.
Dietrich had controversy because he made a love song.
Yeah.
Maybe last year.
But it's even in the Bible. Song of Solomon's is a love song, essentially.
It's a bunch of love songs.
I mean, come on now.
Bruh,
I'm saying the
Warrior, if you listen to Bizzle, he doesn't. Every song is not about God. Like, it's not God in every song.
That sounds like a divorce album or something?
That was... thank you. Like, Dayton had an album called Hell in a Hallway, all about a divorce.
The reason he's boxed in, though, is because of the title Christian rapper.
Yes.
Like, unfortunately, that's just...
But can he help that, though?
Yeah. Lecrae does it. I mean, you can be... Listen, because
Let
you...
the trap say amen.
It's how we market. It's how we advertise. And I won't put this... I'm gonna use an artist, and I probably can't say this artist's name, but there's an artist that I know, a celebrity, and this person said if they could go back, they probably would unbox themselves from being in the category that they're in. Let's just say that category is jazz, for example, right? Right, like this artist said, I wouldn't have allowed myself to box into that just one category, but that's who they try to make me to be. I think nowadays the industry has changed, so we have these independent artists who are not controlled necessarily by the record companies.
Yeah.
Who are able to say, you know what, I want to reach who I want to reach. And because I've released my own song now, I can even tell you, like, when you release, it's asked what category, right, are you releasing under? So R&B, pop, jazz, Christian contemporary, Christian gospel, etc. And then there's singer-songwriter. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so whatever you put that in is wherever you're going to be moved to, whatever radio stations play the category that your song is under.
Right.
I think we are just moving to a place where we're allowing ourselves to wander outside of that box that has been placed for so long. And that box, unfortunately, not saying it's supposed to, but unfortunately it has boxed a certain group of individuals in. Mm-hmm. And so they've been classified. And then it doesn't help because we as the church set these standards where, okay, we just allow the box to be what the box is. Yeah. Because the moment that Yolanda Adams wore her arms out, the church was in an uproar. What? We can't believe... The moment that Michelle Obama wore her arms out, it was, she's not a good Christian woman. So we've fallen victim to the box that people have placed over us.
You saying it like it's only the church who does that. That's Fox News got on the president for wearing a tan suit. Like, you can't... That's... I think that's a human...
But it's to answer your question. Your question was, why is it that these folks can't make it in aren't making it in a bigger spectrum? I'm telling you, the answer to that is because they're boxed in. Now, I'm not saying it's not done by a lot of people, sure, but the answer is that it's a box.
We have a comment.
Yes.
Rick's comment.
Yeah, Rick Schumann.
Yes, switch.
Okay. All right. Because of name recognition, powerful to think what Kanye could do if he switched to Christian music alone. Yes. Actually, the fun thing about that... Well, we haven't seen yet because the album hasn't dropped yet.
He made a statement.
Yes, he has made a statement, but we still haven't seen the album. That's what I'm saying. We gotta wait because his next album release, the title, which was first Yandhi, but now it's coming out. Apparently, it's supposed to be Jesus is King. Kanye West has actually swore off secular music, that he's only going to do Christian music, which again remains to be seen. But if it is the truth, this is
It's awesome.
big news. You know, the man has like 50 million music followers. At
I don't know
least.
how awesome that is.
I don't know.
You know, my push is like.
I
So
don't
does that
know.
mean Kanye West is going into the box? Like, I don't
Who
know.
knows? You
But
might.
maybe he can broaden the box.
Maybe he can broaden the box. I received
Yes.
that. I received that. Maybe he can broaden the box. That's true.
Yeah.
I received that.
Exactly.
I received
And
that.
Terrence also says, good point, Ramon, we have to get outside of the box. It's like that Disney show, Out of the Box.
Don't do that again. Like, don't do that again.
Oh, man,
like.
I love it.
So I mean, so should there be a qualification like for? So if I wanted to be a worship leader, should there be some type of qualification? Should there not be? You know what I mean? If I'm an usher, or if I'm a deacon, if I'm an elder, if I'm a pastor, whatever in church, should there be a qualification? So like the squizzard, is there any qualification of being part of the squad other than saying I want to be part of the squad and accepting Christ?
Yeah. So there is. I mean, one, right? Like we do question that we actually try to make sure everybody on our squad has faith in Jesus.
Yeah,
that everybody
that would be
knows how
nice,
it's salvation. But I will say this though too. But to be depends on the part that you play in the squad as well. Folks that have been allowed to bring the message, yes, there is. There are some qualifications of being able to acknowledge Christ as your Savior. Right? There are training courses and there are workshops that we do for all the folks who bring messages. Now, if you're a person that's over, and I have to think about this because I'm sure people will probably say something about this, but if you're in charge of maybe our media networking, I don't know that it would be the same rigorous, approach to making sure that you are.
See, so I get that's my bad, but I guess that's my point. Like there is certain, so like you let some music at my church I pastored. Like I wouldn't just let you come off the street and say I believe in Christ, come do this. Like there are certain qualifications that are met. If he has a background in Christ, I don't know it. You know what I mean? I couldn't do that for me. But we are running. Do we have?
Yeah, we have one more comment from Margie. God help us become qualified. And I think that's almost the point. Oh, and another comment. Yes, bringing messages and leading worship should have training. And another one, yes. They're coming in out of yes. There should be qualifications for taking a position in the church. However, there's no qualification for giving God praise and telling your testimony.
Where did he come from anyway? Nah. But there is a saying. What is the saying? God doesn't choose to qualify, he qualifies the call. So, there's that. All right, we are at time, people. We thank you for tuning in. Last comments.
You first this time.
Ramon. Love a snitch.
Love a snitch.
That's why you went first this time.
I think that it's tough. I think we have to allow ourselves the space in our minds and our hearts and our spirits to be open and receptive to the movement of God. I believe that this is why denominations were created, right? Because people believe that there were different sets of skills, different ways of being called, different traditions that needed to be in place. I think that's great to have some sort of requisite on, right, making sure that a person is in tune spiritually. I think that's a great place to be. I also think, though, on the other hand, that we've got to make sure that we are truly not only discerning the person, but discerning the spirit. Because if God has called someone, we need to be open enough to receive that call or to make room for that call.
Yeah.
Even when Saul turned to Paul and was called, there were folks that doubted. But they were in tune enough with Jesus and in tune enough with the Holy Spirit that they were able to be open to that transformation. And so I do believe that we ought to have prerequisite. And I do believe that we need to sort of vet everyone that comes in, especially if we have any control over the situation. At the same time, I think it's always about being open to God. So if God has called someone and God has called you to move on that situation, allow that person to be in, I think we sometimes have to just go with the flow of God has ordained this, and then we deal with it and prepare ourselves to deal with whatever happens after that moment.
Nice.
That's all right.
No, I don't have anything special to add really onto that. What I say is you got to know, first and foremost, know your gospel and realize that any person who teaches you in the flesh, as in any person who is of human nature, has the ability to do great things or great harm. You know, we have a great opportunity here with Kanye West bringing in all these people to Christ. But there's also the great possibility of doing a lot of harm to the Christian brand. There's also a lot of possibilities of leading these people astray. We have to be mindful of that. And it's not just Kanye West, it's anybody, any pastor. You know, you always have to follow through with liturgical teachings of study of your own to discern what is truth and what is not.
Study your word.
Study your word. Read the Bible daily. Pray daily to grow in yourself. People can be used as an instrument to grow closer to Christ, but ultimately the journey must be taken by yourself. No one can make it for you. I can't do it, Tate can't do it, Raymond can't do it. I mean, no one except you. So regardless of who you want to use as the person who kind of guides you onto the beginning of that journey, it is still ultimately the responsibility of each person to shepherd themselves. So, with that said, yes, I feel like some level of teaching is required, but also discernment on the part of the person who's trying to learn.
Gotcha. Well, they want to talk all along. No, I would simply say, Scripture tells us a good tree bears good fruit. A bad tree can't bear good fruit. A good tree can't bear bad fruit. What Kanye did right now is bearing good fruit. I just pray to God that he's sincere in it and it continues to bear that good fruit. Whatever happens, it is in God's plan for it to happen, and you can't deny it that hundreds of people got saved that day. And are continue to get saved with his services. So no matter what, it is a good thing. No matter how cautious you may be about it, and maybe I'm just speaking about myself, my personal opinions, no matter your thoughts about it, you can't argue with the fact that for that little bit of time, for the time it's still working, right? People's lives are still getting saved and people are still going to Christ. And for that alone, what more can you ask for? You got problems with it, we can address it at a later time. We can have forums just like this where we can talk it out and disagree or agree, what have you. But at the end of the day, what was the great commandment? To make disciples of all nations.
The great commandment.
That's what Ye's doing. So,
all right, some last minute comments. Margie says, great conversation, my brother. So pleased with this ministry, and we are grateful for you.
Awesome.
And Felicia LaCour. Hey, Felicia, how's it going? Hey, guys, greatness and all. God bless you all, and continue your calling and spreading positivity, especially in your endeavors and projects. Blessed to be a blessing.
Thank you for the positive words. But if you really want to be a part of this squad, Patreon, for as little as $2 a month, you can see this ministry. You'll get all behind the scenes. You'll get a little, what do you call these things? Wristbands, bracelets, as well as just special things no one else gets after the show. You'll get special interaction with me, AB, Ray, and Amplify family, who's in the back. It's mysterious, but don't forget, like, share. Next week, 7:30, 7:30, we talking about it.
Split the difference, 7:22.
Right. 7:22. We love you. If you want to know what the next topic of the next week's show is, easy. Just go to Patreon. Yeah. Subscribe, be a patron. You can learn all that. But we love you. Peace, love, Amplify Network. Subscribe. Peace out, family.
Peace out.
Love you guys.
Love a snitch. Snitch with love.
Done with him, cool.
So you want to just argue the whole show? That's all.
I mean, listen.
And you on his side. If I got to tell you one more time,